Hello, and welcome to Gin and Cake.
Well, hello, Sharon.
Hello, Joel.
This is our second take.
And it's still going terribly.
I am not going to blame the beautiful Dalwhinnie that you gave me a few weeks ago, which I am enjoying and have been enjoying for a little while now.
Dude, I'm drinking the exact same thing.
Ah, look at that.
We are so in sync this evening.
Yeah. So, welcome everyone to episode 7 of Gin and Cake, the podcast where Sharon and I live cast episodes of the Great British Baking Show, arguably the most charming of the reality series out there.
I can only agree with that, Joel. And in fact, we are not drinking gin, as we just described to you. It is whiskey and cake this evening.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that our listeners are going to forgive that.
I think so. They're a flexible lot.
I hope they are. If
Yeah,
not, then they should just turn this off right now.
Yeah, that's the way to build an audience, Sharon.
I have standards, Joel, and if they don't meet them, what can I tell you?
You have standards, you'll never be profitable.
Well, we knew that.
So I was telling you a story which you told me to save for the podcast, which I think was a very good suggestion.
I want you to tell us, Joel, we've talked many, many times about things that I do, but we've never actually spoken about what you do.
Well, I'm a pixel pusher, as they say in the biz, or at least as I say. I don't know if anybody else uses that term.
I love it, though.
Yeah. So I do a lot of animation work using a variety of software programs, and it's 2D and what we call 2.5D, which is where you have two-dimensional elements in a 3D space, and you move the camera around and all that kind of stuff, and then full-on 3D too. But at the moment, I'm working on what might be the most interesting and chilling graphic I've ever seen. And it's a chart that shows Napoleon's attempt to invade Russia in 1812 to 1813.
Idiot.
Yeah. And it shows both the path that his army took and also the number of troops as that number adjusted during this attempt. And he started with, I believe it was 42,000 troops. And by the end of the march, it was down to 2.5% of that number.
That's just insane.
I'm pretty sure not a single shot was fired. It was all the weather that killed them.
Well, they walked in, I think, in winter.
That's correct.
So they basically froze to death.
Yeah.
Because a French winter and a Russian winter are not the same things. Yeah.
And that was the first of 2 times that somebody attempted to invade Russia and got turned back for, I'm pretty sure, exactly the same reason, because it was the Nazis the second time, wasn't it?
Well, they managed to get as far as Leningrad and pretty much stuck it out on the Western Front there. But yeah, it did not go well for them at all. In fact, I think we could safely say that the end of Nazi Germany was in part because he decided to try Russia, which was a huge, huge mistake. Just don't invade Russia. I think that's what we learned. Ground troops in Russia do not go together.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm in the very early stages of putting this together, so it's still the fun phase. Well, this whole thing's going to be kind of fun, but I'm still deciding how I'm going to approach animating it and depicting all these there's a lot going on in the chart, and yet it's very simple to look at, it's a terrifically balanced image. I really like it.
I'm excited to see that, actually. I hope you post it up so that everyone can see it, because I think the way to interpret data in a really beautiful way is very difficult, and I think you do a great job of that.
Yeah, well, what I can do is post the link to the original graphic that I'm using. I can't post what I'm creating because it's something that a client is paying for. But I can certainly, because that's a public domain image, so that would be no problem. And that public domain image is what I'm working with essentially, and it's pretty great.
Can you invite me over to your house and let me look at it, and then I won't tell anyone what it looks like?
I can do that.
Yay.
Yeah.
I love data interpretation. I have books on it, and it's just, there's so many cool ways to do it. But I love data. I'm just going to let my geek flag fly right there, because I love data.
There's nothing wrong with that. Data is reality.
Well, speaking of interpreting data, no, actually, that has no connection to the show that we are going to watch, because we're going to watch a show about pastry.
Well, that's a kind of data, isn't it?
No, no, Joel, just let it go. Let it
All
go.
right.
But we are, in fact, here to talk about the Great British Baking Show.
Yes, and it's episode 7, Pastries.
Pastries. This is the penultimate to the quarterfinals. We are creeping up toward the end of series 1 here. So we have, I think, 5 contestants left. 6 contestants?
It is 6 contestants. We have Richard, Louis, Nancy, Kate, Chetna, and Martha.
Damn, Joel. Did you just pull that out of your memory?
Nuh-uh, I got it all written down.
God bless you.
Yeah. Data.
Data. Writing data down. Well, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
I feel like I really need to just hook my wagon to your little data train.
Hey, anytime you want, honey.
Oh, love you, Joel.
I love you, too.
All right, let's move on here. We're going to get ready to queue up. And as always, we are watching our purchased Amazon versions. And now, once again, we'll remind you that you can get this on Netflix. Yes.
Yeah, that's a terrific re-edition to Netflix.
Oh, I'm so happy. And also they have season 2 and 3. So hopefully they will keep it up as long as our podcast keeps going.
I did not know they had added other seasons. That's really great.
They do. So just keep watching, y'all, and try not to binge ahead, although I know it is tempting. We are on season 1, episode 7, and we are starting at second 06, right past the PBS logo here. So cue up to 6, second 6, and we'll go ahead and get ready to start. You want to go to the 10 count?
Sure. Ready, set, go. And now we're back to Mel and Sue's intros after 2 episodes of not seeing them here.
Very odd, but I'm happy to see them again always. And as you noted, we have 6 contestants left, as they're describing. Mm-hmm. There are 4 women and 2 men left in the competition.
Yep. Now, question for you. Have there always been sound effects in this opening sequence? I have never heard them before.
I don't know of any sound effects. I mean, usually they're just sitting there doing stuff.
Right, except eggs just cracked, an oven door just closed, and I heard the clank. I've never heard that before.
You know, I've never really noticed. I can't say whether there's been there or not.
Huh.
Interesting. I'll have to go back to my episodes. And here's beautiful Kate. She's talking about it's an absolutely gorgeous day in Britain. And everyone looks excited. There's Richard saying, yeah, maybe I've not had such a good week coming up to now, but yay, let's go for it.
Although I'm going to disagree with you slightly, Chetna does not look excited. She looks tired again in this episode. I think she just has such a full life beyond this show.
She has, I think, 2 children, 2 young children.
Yeah, that's right, I think.
And it was Nancy last week who looked exhausted, so it's got to catch up to you eventually. Mm-hmm. And it looks like maybe Kate's covering up her exhaustion with possibly some really excellent fake eyelash work.
Yeah, I think you might be right there. And then Nancy, too, I noticed real heavy on the makeup.
Yeah, everyone's looking a little peaky.
Yeah, as Marge Simpson would say, her makeup shotgun was set to whore.
Ooh, sassy. Nancy's never a whore.
Oh, certainly not. But it's a little overstated, maybe. But she is, as ever, a charming and lovely lady.
She is indeed. And so we are right now at the signature challenge, which is to make a pastry parcel. So think turnovers. They would call them pasties in England. Mm-hmm. Things that are wrapped in pastry that you can carry around, which I think anytime pastry is portable is a happy day for me.
Yeah. And of course, the fact that they made something savory, I'm very happy with, because when I hear pastry, I automatically think it's something sweet.
Totally agree with that. Totally agree. So yes, we're savory pastry parcels here. Nobody's making any desserts. I love it. And what do we think about Mary's jacket here? It's got a great big bird. Normally she's so stylish, but this has a whole grandma thing going on for me.
Yeah, again, overstated, in my opinion. But there's a limit to how much I can criticize her.
Fair enough. I mean, and it's a beautiful crane. It's a bright color. God bless her.
Now, I have a question.
Yes, go.
Chetna is using carom seeds in her pastry, and I have no idea what that is.
I don't either. And I meant to look it up before we made this podcast, and I didn't.
Well, you know what? We got the internet available to us.
I'm going to give that to you while
right.
I just sit here and talk about Chetna's amazing collection of spices. She had, I think, it looked like 8 or 9 there in small containers.
Hmm.
And then I think, okay, so the food producers had to put all that together.
Ah, carom is a kind of caraway seed.
Oh, okay. All right. So for those who don't know, it's the taste of rye bread.
Okay.
That is caraway seed. And here's Kate. She's also doing sort of an Indian flavor thing. She's got lots of spices and they look gorgeous. I love the color of spices. When I see pictures of like Moroccan markets and those huge pyramids and cones of spices, I just want to put my hands in them, which I believe is frowned upon at the market. But
Really?
yeah, I don't think you're allowed to just reach in there and grab what you want. Pretty sure that's not how that works.
Well, I suppose you're right. With good reason.
I wish it did though, because I just want to grab them all.
And earlier, Paul had a question about Kate as to whether she was going to use fresh spinach or frozen spinach, and she was spot on with the answer. She was prepared for that. And then she's using frozen spinach because it helps to keep the dough moist, or the ending pastry moist. And it's like, I like the fact that she had tried them both and she knew exactly how to answer that.
She did, and she also knew that if she used fresh, it would have been too moist. I don't know if you've ever cooked with fresh spinach.
Well, all the time, but not in any kind of baking situation.
Okay, so when you cook fresh spinach, you have to basically wring it out. And it's the same as true as frozen spinach, but spinach holds a tremendous amount of water. So to actually bake with it, and if you don't want things to just fall apart and be completely soggy, you have to wring it out, basically.
Okay.
And so she's describing there that frozen spinach has had some of its water cooked out.
Okay.
It's just easier, but still, even if you wrap frozen spinach in like a cheesecloth or a dish towel and wring it out, you would be amazed what comes out of that. And it's green and kind of smelly.
Now, Louis was making empanadas, is that right?
Yes, he's going back to his Spanish roots there.
The very first time I had an empanada was in a weird location. It was back in 2000. I was on a research vessel in the Antarctic. Not kidding.
Obviously.
Yeah. And the chef on board the ship made empanadas for what was called midnight rations, which was kind of self-explanatory because we had worked lots of long hours because it cost $50,000 a day to be on that ship down there.
Damn, dude.
Yeah. So you really had to make the most of every minute that you had. And so we had meals throughout the 24-hour cycle. And he made some excellent freshly made empanadas right there on the ship.
Yum.
And it was wonderful.
Well done, him.
Oh, yeah. And then a few weeks later, I had empanadas again, this time in Santiago, Chile, at a farmer's market because myself and another student who was a friend of mine did a little bit of traveling in South America on our way back to the States after the cruise. And very different kind of empanada, but just as delicious. And great trip. Wonderful.
Oh, I'm sure. But that $50,000 a day thing, it reminds me. Y'all, when we talk about science funding, it's expensive.
It really
is expensive to get the data that we all rely on. So
yeah.
Support your local scientist.
Please, yeah, because the Antarctic might seem remote and unimportant, but it's actually extraordinarily ecologically important to the entire planet.
Are you watching to see when the ice shelf falls? Because I know I am.
Yeah.
Oh, riveted about that. I'm just like every day. Is it fallen yet? Has it fallen yet? Well, let's not bring ourselves down with ideas of that.
No, let's not. That's a deep rabbit hole.
It is indeed. So we've passed Martha. She's making tiny beef Wellingtons, which is adorable. Love it. And her thought is, everyone's going to make pasties, so I'm going to make something different. So bless her for that. She's really, she's getting toward the end here, and she's really trying. And we've got Richard here who's making a lamb pasty with sweet potatoes, which is kind of fascinating.
I love lamb and sweet potatoes too, so I have a feeling I would really enjoy this.
I think I would enjoy those also. And, he stated, I think, a little earlier that he really needs to step it up here because he's had 2 not good weeks, our Richard.
Yeah. Surprisingly so, because he had such a strong start. Something I noticed in this kind of whole episode, certainly in this segment, is there's a very sedate pace this time. Everyone's taking their time and going along, and I'm reminded of how frenzied it was with the challenge, the second challenge last episode with the Swedish blah 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 cake that they had to make. The
princess cake. Yeah, that was ridiculous. That was ridiculous. But yeah, everyone seems to kind of be keeping it together here, which is nice. It was, I don't know if you follow or if our listeners follow Richard or any of the other contestants on Twitter. But Richard has a blog, and he posted a couple of days ago. By the way, this is March 14th. It is Pie Day, everybody.
Is it really?
The perfect day for pastry show. It is.
Why is that not advertised, on every network and radio station and podcast other than ours?
I think if you were on the internet, Joel, you would find that it was. But because you do not cruise the internet all day long like me, you don't know that. But back to my point, Richard posted an interesting blog about his youth. And although he seems to be a remarkably steady and fine individual now, apparently a fairly dissolute youth.
Really? I kind of love that.
I do too. But what I really love is I can't believe that the show didn't know that, bringing him on as a contestant, and yet it's never mentioned.
Well, what kind of dissolution are we talking about here?
Oh, I'm going to let our listeners look that up for themselves because I don't think it's my business to say. He put it out there, but rebellion and working in bars and went through a period of depression and basically had his family brought him out of it, which I think is wonderful.
Wow,
but
wow.
If this was an American reality show, that's all we would hear about. You know what I mean?
Oh, gosh. In flashing huge headlines every time that they were on screen. Former juvenile delinquent Richard is now going to make a pasty.
Exactly. And it occurs to me that we don't really know anything about the histories of any of these contestants except for a few things. Diana's in the WI, Nancy trained dogs, which we actually don't find out about until the end of the show. The focus of this show is never about the contestants or their pasts. It's about what they do on the show.
Yeah, it's all about the baking and the experience of it and these lovely interactions that all these people have with each other.
And I think that's marvelous because it's not about judging you as a person. It's never about that. It's about judging what you do.
And I would argue that a show that has to go there and dredge up all the muck is a very weakly designed show. You shouldn't need that element in order to make it interesting for your audience.
I absolutely agree with you. I mean, and here they are trying these bakes, and it's not about, oh, your dad would have loved this. Your dad who died 6 years ago, and it was awful.
Yeah.
That never happened to anybody. But, it's just about, here's the thing that you made. We're going to judge the thing that you made. You did a good job or you didn't do a good job. Mm-hmm. And I think that's just absolutely brilliant as a different take on the competition show and what they have become over the years. It's just kind of marvelous that it's back to the actual competition.
Absolutely.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it.
Now, although we talked over it, Richard is back to form.
Yes, did very well there.
He crushed this one.
Yeah, and Martha did very well. They loved it. I believe she got the I'll go for that.
Yep, and she made mini beef Wellingtons, which sounded so delicious. And
once again, I would eat the hell out of that.
Oh gosh, yes.
I'm gonna put that on a T-shirt. I would eat the hell out of that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And then apparently she cooked the beef to perfection because Mary described it as a gentle pink.
Nice. Well, and that's hard to do. Typically, beef Wellington is quite rare, but when you're deep frying something, it can get overcooked. And she nailed it. Now, Louie's were a bit undercooked, not so good. And here's Nancy's, same thing.
Yeah.
Almost, but not quite. And Mel's stuffing little pasties into her pockets, which I'm thinking her laundress is like, please don't do that. You have to wear that jacket again tomorrow,
Poor wardrobe.
I'm sure they bought two.
Hopefully.
So here's Kate's. Oh, poor Kate did not understand how the fryer worked because she didn't own one. She's never used one. Didn't realize it was on a timer. And so she was trying to deep fry her pastry in a fryer that had turned off. It was nowhere near hot enough.
And so is it standard that all fryers have a timer? Because I've never used one either.
I've never used one. I would be probably Kate's position. I wouldn't have the slightest clue how a thing like that worked. But, oh, and look, she's got blue bandages all over her.
Oh, no.
Thanks, hot oil. You're the best.
And both her and Nancy expected to be critiqued because they knew that it didn't go well.
Oh, no, she knew hers were basically raw.
Yeah. And they take the criticism very, very well.
Well, you can't always blame the equipment. I mean, you can and you can't.
Yep. And, at the end of the day, they presented what they had, Ian.
Oh, again, nailing Ian.
I'm never letting that go.
You're really not, are you? And here's chetnas, which are gorgeously brown. I mean, those are just beautiful. A lentil pachori. You'd have to look that up when they wrote it down. It was an Indian pasty, basically, with pasty. Pasties are the things strippers wear, everyone. Pasties are the things that you eat. But hers look marvelous, and they loved them. So fantastic.
So I guess, does every culture, or I guess maybe just many cultures, have some form of meat or veggies or whatever wrapped in dough?
I would say yes. I mean, when you think of Chinese buns or, Native Americans had like a fry bread. And I mean, there's all kinds of ways to make food portable.
Yeah, that's such interesting, convergent evolution.
I agree that you would all come up with something similar, across these continents.
And I guess the point is to make something, a food that you can carry. Has something nutritious inside.
Well, I mean, when you think, at the start of agriculture, people might be out in the fields all day. To have food that you can take with you makes a lot of sense. It really does.
Yeah, the bread is just an edible carrying case.
Yeah, but it's you're totally right. It's marvelous that there's these touch points in cultures that we all have these sort of similar things. Like a sausage. I think we talked about sausage a few episodes ago.
Yeah.
And everyone's got one. They're all different, but they all serve the same purpose. Use everything. Carry the food.
As a people, we differ in the details, but at our core, we are the same.
We are the same. Oh, that's beautiful.
Thank you. That was the Darwinies talking.
Well, everyone's got alcohol too, right? So there we go.
Well, that's true. There's another one.
All right. So here we are to the technical challenge, which is one of Paul's, and we're making kouign-amann, which is a Breton pastry. So that's from the northwest of France.
Okay, I was going to ask you, have you ever heard of these? And I guess you had, or you looked it up. All right.
In fact, I have. I've never had one. I've never made one, but I do know what they are. I guess that's, Northwest. So Brittany used to be one of the Gallic countries. So you had Ireland and Scotland and Wales, and Brittany was one of those countries. Mm-hmm. Sort of grouped in the Gallic nations.
Okay.
A little different than France. So we're making a big, basically a flaky puff pastry with sugar. Lots of butter and sugar in layers.
Gotcha. Now, Paul's description makes this sound like an especially finicky thing to get right.
It sounds like it is. I mean, he wants you to fold and roll in very specific ways. And we've talked about the technical challenges not having many instructions, but it seems like this one has quite a few very specific steps, except for the one about where to put the sugar in. And to me, at some point, they're going to read it out, the instruction. To me, it's very deliberately vague. It's deliberately misleading. So it's almost like having a little game there with people. Mm-hmm. And they're getting a long time for this challenge. It's quite interesting.
Yeah, why is it? Well, I guess it's a long bake, isn't it?
It's a long rise.
Okay.
And rest. So when you're putting butter in a pastry, you need to keep it solid, right? Because you want to make these layers of dough, then butter, then dough, then butter. And then when it bakes, it makes all these little flaky things. So what they're doing right now is smashing that butter into basically a thin layer. They're going to fold that in to the pastry, cool it to keep that butter solid, and they fold it again and again and again. I don't remember, 3 times, I think. But So it just takes a while. It's slow. It's a slow food.
Okay.
You know that movement, slow food?
I don't actually. What is that?
Oh, well, in this era of mechanization and fast food, there were some people that a few years ago came up with this idea of slow food, which is kind of doing it the old-fashioned way. Take your time, think about what you're doing, let ingredients, prove and mature on their own. We don't need to rush through everything. It's just a more thoughtful way of doing things, which is kind of nice.
Okay. I like that idea.
I do too. Except, when you work 12 hours a day in your lovely freelance job, you don't have time to slow food. So.
Well, I can sympathize.
I know you can. Yeah, so here's Chetna like, we have all this time. Why are you all rushing through it? And what am I doing wrong?
Yeah. Now, she's proving it longer than everybody else, but I'm not sure why that may or may not be a good idea.
Well, she's proving hers in a refrigerator, which slows down the process. I have no idea why she chose to do that, except that she wanted to keep the butter cold. Mm-hmm. They haven't talked about how hot it is in the tent. I have no idea. But she's the only person choosing to chill her dough while it proves, which makes the proving slower, much slower.
Okay.
So here they are arguing about, when do I put the sugar in? What? I don't understand this comment. And so they're all just guessing.
So, yeah, I'm not clear on the exact wording of what it is, but clearly it's pretty vague and subject to interpretation.
It says add sugar between one of the layers.
Okay.
I think is the rule. But since you're folding the dough over on itself, does it mean during one of the folding processes or between every fold that you do 3 times?
Well, see, I would interpret that to mean, okay, it's literally one of those layers, not every layer. But that still doesn't say which layer. But also it turns out it has to be the last layer, like the sugar's supposed to be on the outside, right? Mm-hmm. So that's not between a layer, that's on top of the last layer.
Well, no, it is between the layers, but by leaving it, if you do it too early, the sugar will melt. It just sort of dissolves into the dough as you're working it, as opposed to being sort of granular and crunchy if you put it in the last turn.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the issue here. So it's just, so you can actually see when she was just rolling it out, you could see the sugar as a granule. And that's what they're going for here.
Okay.
So then they put them in these little tins, and it's a complicated recipe.
Yeah.
As many French pastries are. France, what the hell?
Yeah, the layering and the folding and the butter reminds me of how you make a croissant.
Very much.
Which I attempted once. It didn't go very well.
No.
My mother, again, having baked quite a bit earlier in my life, she made croissant fairly frequently and beautifully, like perfectly. And it was a process.
Yeah, oh, it totally is. It totally is. What did you get out of it, though? I mean, what did you like just a lump?
No, it was edible, but it didn't have the right texture to it at all.
Okay. I've never tried it. I don't know. I don't think have I ever made a puff pastry? It's a complicated business.
Yeah.
So,
something that... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was... in a different episode, we were talking about a Cheats puff pastry. And that's when you put it in sort of chunks and do it quickly. Mm-hmm. So this is a little more old-fashioned where you put it in as a slab of butter. So you're making a full layer of butter each time. Go ahead, though. What were you saying?
Oh, that earlier there was an exchange, like a private exchange between Mel and Sue. Yeah. Which I don't remember ever seeing before.
Well, they're having another one right now, actually.
Well, is it just the two of them, or are they...
They're in the corner of the tent. There's a little table near the tea area.
Okay, because they were having a little sidebar there, and I kind of liked it because they were talking about, well, whose do you think is actually getting it right? Because I get the impression they don't really, they don't know ahead of time how this is supposed to go.
I don't think so. I mean, the food producers tell them who's screwing it up, but they probably give them clues as to how it's supposed to go. But as far as I know, Mel and Sue don't know how to make these any more than anyone else does.
But I liked it. I would like them to see them do that more. It was an interesting element.
I agree. And, maybe it's a aspect of this being a 3.5 hour challenge, I think. I mean, it's really long.
Yeah,
I mean, when they got, 2.25 hours to make that entire princess cake?
Oh, yeah.
It does seem bizarre to me that they've got as much time as they did to do this one. But, okay. Whatever. Bake until ready.
Bake until ready. That is a total Two Fat Ladies ingredient or recipe direction.
You know what, though? I'm going to go back to medieval and Renaissance cookery, which, up until I would say the very late 19th century, there were no times on anything. The instruction was bake until ready and serve it forth.
Okay. I guess people didn't have wristwatches back then.
Well, even if they did, every oven was different because they were all coal or wood fired.
Of course, yeah.
So it was bake until ready and serve it forth. I just love that.
I wonder if wristwatches did exist back then. Or if it was just all, big old clocks. Or they were beyond the sundial era, I'm sure, but,
I don't know. Something tells me wristwatches are sort of a 20th century thing. You had pocket watches.
Oh, yeah.
Certainly. And those would date back to, I will say, the 18th century. But not commonly. So you'd be quite wealthy to own a beautiful pocket watch.
Oh, wait, hold on. Of course, I had to Wikipedia it.
Please tell.
The concept of the wristwatch goes back to the production of the very earliest watches in the 16th century.
No.
Elizabeth I of England received a wristwatch from Robert Dudley in 1571.
The hell you say?
Uh-huh.
Oh, go, Beth. And of course, it has to be Robert Dudley, her little amoureuse.
Oh, is that the dude that was played by, was it Rafe Fiennes or his brother in the...
that would be the brother,
okay.
Joseph.
All right, okay.
What a hottie too, right?
Indeed.
I think he and Kate Blanchett made a nice couple.
Oh yeah, serious chemistry. I love that movie.
Of course, he also made a wonderful William Shakespeare.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to say it. I don't think Gwyneth Paltrow deserved an Oscar for that film, but Shakespeare in Love is a marvel if you are an English major who studied Shakespeare.
Which we both are.
Oh, there's so many references in that film. It's so beautifully written. Love it. I love everything about that movie. Well, that's my geek out moment.
Right there with you.
Actually, it's not my geek out moment. Joel, I'm going to ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
Sci-fi.
Mm.
Can you think of any pastry in sci-fi?
Oh, yes. Yes. Okay, the 7th season of Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Yes.
The last hour-long episode before the series finale.
Mm-hmm.
It's an Ensign Ro Laren episode. Really good, very sad. She gets together with a renegade, quote-unquote renegade group called the Maquis,
Maquis.
Yeah. And she befriends an elderly gentleman on a colony. And I don't recall the name of the pastry, but it's definitely a souffle or not a souffle, but a puff pastry of some kind, a savory pastry. That he says, boy, if you could make me one of those, you're going to be aces in my book, lady. And she does, and that's how they bond. Or there's some kind of bonding moment between them around this pastry.
I'm going to have to look that up because honestly, I find the future fairly pastry free, and that upsets me. Everyone's healthy, everyone looks pretty, and nobody's eating an eclair. Y'all need to go to hell because a future without pastry is not interesting to me. And I think Richard's going to agree. He just won the technical challenge. He has come back from his horrible 2 weeks to have a good first round and to win the second round. Well done, Richard.
Thank goodness. We don't want him to go.
I was thinking about, our great love of science fiction and even fantasy. And, pastries don't appear very often, and it's upsetting to me.
I suppose that's true. They're more of a fantasy thing.
I guess.
Like, you go to Game of Thrones and there's pastries all over the place.
There are. In fact, the famous lemon cakes that Sansa loves have a recipe. I've made them, and they're quite good.
Mm.
And I think there's an entire cookbook for The Hobbit.
Is that right?
Yes, someone has gone and made a cookbook for Hobbit recipes because, hobbits love to eat. And
Well, that's
I think
true.
it's brilliant. I need to get that book because I probably would love to eat like a hobbit.
Invite me over for 11sies sometime.
We should have a hobbit dinner party.
Oh, that'd be great.
Oh my God, so fun.
And I sure hope I was right about my whole Star Trek rant earlier, because I'm going by an episode I haven't seen in a few years.
I'm gonna look that one up. And the only other instance I can think of is when Data was having his weird dreams, and he dreamed he was a cake.
Oh, I'm gonna correct that a little bit. I think he dreamed that Marina Sirtis's character, Counselor Troy, was a cake, and he was cutting into her.
That's right.
And it's yeah. Well, I could get into the entire plot, which I won't because that's a different podcast. But I think that was the case.
I think you're absolutely correct about that. Yeah. And was it Riker who was sipping out of someone's brain?
Somebody was. I don't recall the character, but yes, that is correct too.
With a straw.
Yeah.
Interesting. So here we go to the signature challenge. It's eclairs this week in honor of Pastry Week. It's choux pastry, but they can do anything else that they want. They have to hit the number of eclairs. They have to do 2 different kinds.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, they can do anything they want. And I love it.
And can you tell me again what choux pastry is?
Choux pastry is a pastry that you make on the stove. So you heat eggs and butter, I think, and then you pour in flour and it's cooked. It's hot so that you can kind of cook out that raw flour taste.
Mm-hmm.
And then you cool it down and you pipe it. I'm trying to remember how it goes. Butter. I think you melt the butter, you put the flour in, and then you stir the eggs in, and that's where the danger is because you can curdle that. You can cook those eggs by accident. So you have to beat it like crazy. I've done it, but it's a long time ago. But I beat mine by hand. And like profiteroles or any kind of little cream puffs, all the same pastry. It's all the same. In an eclair's case, it's just very long and thin. In an eclair shape.
All right. Now, did you know that eclair is the name of one of the superheroes in the animated Tick series?
I love the Tick series.
Yeah, there's an episode where they go to France, and she's her name is Eclair, and she says it comes from the French word for lightning.
I did not remember that at all. I just remember the Tick and Arthur and the American Maid.
It's my favorite superhero name.
I love American Maid.
That is such a layered name. I love it.
And Deflator Mouse.
Yes, Deflator Mouse Man. And then his TV live action equivalent, Batmanuel.
Yes. Oh, Batmanuel. There's a new series of the Tick on, I think it's HBO or Amazon Prime. Amazon Prime.
Yeah, I've heard of that. I'm gonna check it out.
I watched the pilot and I liked it.
Okay.
I liked it, but honestly, nothing beats that animated series.
Yeah.
Anyone who has not seen the Tick animated, oh my God, it's the funniest thing ever made.
It's so good. That is a singular piece of animated series. It's just terrific.
Brilliant. I'm just gonna say one word to you: spoon.
Spoon.
Okay, you're going to have to watch to find out what that means, but it is wonderful. Absolutely wonderful.
And now what I further learned about eclair is that the word comes from French éclair, flash of lightning, so named because it is eaten quickly, in a flash.
Interesting. I can't imagine just shoving an eclair in my mouth.
Yeah, why would anyone do that? I mean, it takes a long time to make these things. Just savor it.
That makes me wonder if they weren't a lot smaller in the past.
Oh, that could maybe they were bite-sized.
Yeah, maybe this long eclair that we are so accustomed to seeing is I'm just going to call it's American. Let's just be honest. So here's Nancy. She's making two kinds. She is the only person making a savory eclair, and quite frankly, listening to all the sweet ones, smoked salmon and horseradish is like the only one of everything that's described here that I want to eat.
Yeah, yeah. The rest sound very cloying.
Very cloying. Yeah. I agree. There's just, desserts can go wrong so quickly. Now, is that our age? Is it me? I mean, are we just too old to eat sweet things?
Maybe, because I had more of a sweet tooth when I was a kid, and I gradually lost it.
I think I did too. Now, my mother loves sweet things and chocolate, so maybe it doesn't go away for everybody.
Yeah.
I don't know. So, okay, so we just saw everyone sort of making their eclair choux pastry, and they're cooking it on the stove, and you have the option of beating it by hand, which is the way I've always done it, or you can beat it with a beater. The trick is to just get those eggs in there.
Is there an advantage to hand beating as opposed to mechanically beating?
I think it's just a personal preference, to be honest. Control.
Okay.
So Richard is going out and he's taking the risk of using floral flavors, lavender and rose.
Yeah, lavender did not work out well for Norman.
No, it sure did not, did it? And those are very delicate flavors. But he has made an adorable little staircase.
That's cute.
To present his eclair stair. Oh, and it's going to become part of a chicken coop, so that's adorable.
And now, Sue asked the questions, can't they just fly up instead of walking up? So, of course, had to Wikipedia that. And what I found is domestic chickens are not capable of long-distance flight, although lighter birds are generally capable of flying for short distances, such as over fences or into trees where they would normally roost.
That is true.
And it further says chickens may occasionally fly briefly to explore their surroundings, but generally do so only to flee perceived danger, like an empty human belly.
Now, my husband and I did have... Do you remember our 2 chickens? Were you here for that?
No, that was before my time.
We had 2 chickens in our backyard, Lucy and Ethel.
Love that.
They were adorable in their own weird way, but that's when I discovered that birds are absolutely dinosaurs.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
How so?
When you look in the eye of a bird, and there's nothing wrong with chickens, and some of them are very friendly, they are not mammals. There is nothing familiar about them. I mean, when you look in the eye of a tiger or a dog or any fellow mammal, there's something there that you can kind of recognize. But when you look in the eye of a bird, they ain't nothing.
Wow, there's just something else looking back at you.
There is absolutely something else about them. And yeah, when you know that birds came from dinosaurs, you can kind of see it. You can see that they're just something completely different from us.
All right.
But then they ate all my broccoli, which really annoyed me.
Fair enough.
Oh, they ate an entire plot of broccoli in one day.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was not a good day. But it's not their fault. They're chickens. I didn't blame them for it.
Well, they do what they do.
But we finally gave them away to a person who lets chickens free roam on our farm and collects the eggs, because the fight between us, the chickens, and the raccoons that wanted to eat them just became way, way, way more trouble than 2 eggs was worth.
Yeah.
So, off you go.
Yeah, well, for more information on all of this, the excellent documentary Chicken Run covers a lot of this territory.
Yes, Chicken Run, that documentary. Oh, Aardman Animation, you're fantastic. I assume that's what you're talking about.
Of course.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
God, did I miss something here?
That was live action footage, wasn't it?
Might as well be. Oh, Aardman's so brilliant.
Yeah, they are.
So now they're all stirring up their big fillings, all creamy, and making delicious custards. Yeah, and here's Richard actually calling out the problem with using florals, which we've discussed before. Yeah. If you go a little heavy-handed, you might as well just put a bar of soap in your mouth.
Yeah, yeah.
Not any old soap, but like the nasty guest soap that you put in the downstairs bathroom. Ugh.
The kind that makes you want to never curse again, in theory.
Exactly. Life boy. Why?
Make you go blind.
You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Of course I do. Now, I think I need to learn how to make jam because every time I see footage of someone doing it, I get a little happy.
You know what? I can't do it this weekend, but next week I'm going to be making my strawberry jam, and it's
Ooh.
so simple. If I get around to it, I will give you a buzz because
Oh, please do. I'd love to observe that.
it's so simple to do it. I mean, it's just you boil it a little bit and you put it in a jar. It's like that's it. The hardest part about jam is if you want to keep it for a long time. And you have to sterilize things and then boil them. It's a pain in the butt. But the actual jam making's the simplest part.
Okay. That sounds kind of similar to brewing your own beer, where sterilizing all the equipment is absolutely essential, but also kind of a pain in the ass.
Totally true. It's the cleaning of everything that's the real problem. It's not the making of the food. That's the easy part.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, so now they're all judging everyone's eclairs, and Chetna and Kate are making the same one, a lemon meringue eclair, which sounds gorgeous.
Mm.
And Louis just recently described, we passed it by, his American eclairs, which were like, he called it peanut butter and jello.
Oh, no.
And then a blueberry cheesecake. They all sounded horrible. And I just thought, where did you learn to do that?
Yeah, I mean, I could be on board for the blueberry cheesecake, but I'm not a big peanut butter and jelly fan for the I mean, it's fine, but it's definitely not my go-to thing.
No. So Kate's making a strawberry mousse, which looks yummy.
Mm.
And everyone's piping. It's time to pipe. So for those who don't know, choux pastry, the great thing about it is you make it, you put it in the oven, and it puffs up. And if you do it right, you get a nice, big, airy inside. So you can fill it with cream for cream puffs, or in eclairs cases, you fill it up with cream to make the big, long eclair, or you can cut them in half. But it's a pastry with basically a lot of room in the middle of it.
Okay.
That's why it's used for eclairs.
All right.
Boring.
No, fun fact. Fun fact.
They're really easy to make. And if you can, I would highly recommend that if you can make profiteroles, which are cheesy, or no, gougere. Were you here for the gougere?
What? Say this again?
Gougere.
I've never heard of that.
You didn't come to the French brunch?
That might be when I was up north filming a webisode.
That might be. Okay, so gougere are cheese cream puffs, basically.
Ooh. Yeah, I don't think I've had those.
They're kick ass. If you need a recipe for those, Dory Greenspan. You want to find Dory Greenspan's recipe. It is practically foolproof. Wonderful.
Mm.
So, and see, again, Nancy's little salmon savories, those look so pretty and delicious.
Yeah, yeah.
As opposed to all these things, which, I mean, I feel like I'm diabetic just looking at them.
You're not wrong.
Mm-mm.
And I think, too, the colors are so saturated.
They really are. And poor Martha is not having a good day here. She is freaking out.
Yeah, but look, there's Richard helping Martha.
Yes, she has asked Richard for help because he's done. And here comes Chetna breezing in on the other side. Everyone's helping everyone. I love this show so much.
Yeah, it's so great. It's so great.
Everyone's so nice. And she's also having a time. I don't think she's asked for help, though, but she's really, really struggling.
And she really ought to ask for help because she is on the edge right now.
I'm not sure anyone could help her with that because it's not like hers have a lot of moving parts like Martha's do.
Mm.
But God bless her, she does not look happy. And
Yeah.
she just said, I'm a goner.
Yeah.
Whether she believes that or not, it's hard to say, but they weren't looking good. Oh, and Louise, as an American, for those to be called sort of American themed, is just like, oh, really?
It's kind of a smack in the face. It's like, yeah, we got our crap food, but we have finesse over here too.
We do. I mean, we can cook food. Oh, but those salmon ones, I would love to eat that. That looks delicious. And her own homegrown horseradish, which we discovered earlier.
Which is wonderful. I admire anyone who can maintain a really good garden.
Okay, once again, I'm going to point you, me, and all of our listeners to Nancy's Twitter, where she's doing 365 days of tips. Most of them so far have been about baking, but as England sort of goes into its spring, she's starting to do more gardening tips.
Okay.
So she's also describing how she, does garden well. So they're all really entertaining. It's like a minute video. It's nothing of your time, but really good tips. Please check out Ask Nancy because it's totally worth it.
Oh, great. And I'm glad that there are video tips too, because she's so good on camera.
Many video tips. A lot of times she's not speaking and they're just sort of sped up showing you how to do something. But she also has a blog. So if it's a more complicated recipe, you can click the link on her Twitter and go get more information. She's marvelous. I wish she had her own show. I think she's terrific.
That's great.
Everything she's doing is so practical in that Nancy way. Check her out. Stars and Stripes, and it's a party.
Yeah, Louis here look like something you might get at Voodoo Donut in Portland.
Oh, yeah. Stick some Captain Crunch on the top of that and you totally have it.
Yeah, just make it as over the top as you can.
Well, hello, America. Over the top as you can.
Yeah. True.
But it's interesting when he's so particular about how things look. They all look similar. I'm just surprised that that's the approach that he took. It seems not Louis to me, in a way. It's a little more childish.
Yeah, I agree. But he crushed it. He couldn't have done better.
He did crush it. You're right. They loved him. And I'm sure if we tried them, we would love them too.
Oh, no doubt.
And here's Kate's.
Yeah, she knows she's in serious trouble. And she knew it even before this judging.
But I think those lemon meringues look great. I think they look nice. I mean, she put basil in them, which is interesting.
Delayed basil.
Yes. It comes late on the bus.
As long as it gets there eventually.
Yeah. The midnight basil. There it is. On the bus. But the chocolate eclairs, her Neapolitan eclairs, they just look sad.
They do. Yeah, they're kind of droopy.
A little droopy. Although I will say the choux pastry looks beautiful.
So I guess it's just a problem with the topping?
Well, the filling's oozy. It's not firm. Yeah, it's just kind of a hot mess. But the choux themselves, beautiful. And here's Chetna's, and they look gorgeous.
They really do.
She really put a lot of effort into that.
And a lovely display, too.
And she made 13. She made a baker's dozen and didn't even know. That's so funny. Oopsie. And here's her lemon. Yeah, they look a little underdone, but not too bad. God, Paul's eyes are beautiful.
They really are. Just, man.
I'm just going to throw that out there. It almost makes me want to watch the new baking show on Channel 4 just to see his eyes.
Well, maybe just some screen caps. That'll do it.
Oh, I'm going to watch just because I'm curious how different it is,
Well, I'll wait to hear what you think of it before I dive in.
But it occurred to me, watching the interaction between Paul and Nancy and the male judge, they'd be an interesting judging pair.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Because they have that kind of funny, acerbic rapport, but Nancy's smart and she really has a great grasp on detail.
Yeah, and such terrific screen, understated screen presence.
Very much so. And here's poor Martha. She knows she's screwed up beyond all screwing up.
Yeah.
And her bacon isn't crispy, which, gross.
Yeah, soggy bacon, not a good thing.
No.
Almost as bad as a soggy bottom on anything baked.
I agree with you. I was just thinking that, yeah. And she had not a good filling. I mean, everything about them is wrong.
Yeah. So her and Kate in trouble.
Not looking good. What to do? Who to choose here? So in the first round, though, Martha did very well.
Yeah.
Kate did not do well. And there was Louie saying chin up, and she's crying, and she's like, okay. Oh, they all just want to hug her. I love that camaraderie about them all.
So endearing.
It's so genuine.
Yeah, yeah.
Hot dog eclairs. That's what Mel calls Louie's.
That's a lot of color.
They're so bright. I mean, do we have a skewed impression of America, Joel? Maybe it's us.
Maybe we do. Maybe we're just a little cynical about our home country.
Or coastal elite. I don't know.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
Yeah, I'm going to cop to it, and I'm not going to apologize because...
Nuh-uh.
Now here's the bacon once again. Martha's trying to interpret America. Bacon and maple cream. Nope.
But, again, going back to Voodoo Donut, the one and only time I was there, I had their bacon maple bar.
Oh.
Which was, this thick maple icing with bacon.
Did it hurt you?
I'm still digesting it.
Uh-huh.
This was 6 years ago.
Oh, God.
But it tasted really good. But I
Did it?
It did. Like, it's the sweet and the saltiness worked in the way they did it.
And that would work for me for like 2 bites, and then I'm done.
Well, that's it. It was extremely filling and kind of like, I shouldn't have eaten that whole thing.
Next time, we all need to go to Portland, and you need to go to Blue Star because their apple cider donut was to die for.
Ooh.
But one and done. People who go there and get a box of donuts, I'm just looking like, what? Why are you doing that?
I would make the same argument for any donut shop. One is good. A box is just no.
One and done, people.
Value your life a little bit more than that.
Oh, you're sweet.
Yeah.
That you care.
I do.
Oh, and there was Sue saying she just got basil.
Her comic timing is perfect.
So good. Okay, so here we are to the judging, and Chetna is holding the weeping Martha's hand like she's her mom. It's just lovely.
Beautifully maternal.
It kind of is, and there's Kate on the end. She's all but in tears, too. And there's so few of them left. I mean...
That's why it's the departures, you feel it more at this point.
Yeah, nobody's a total screw-up at this point, right? Nobody had 3 horrible rounds.
Yeah.
And here's Richard, who comes back from 2 weeks of absolute misery to be, I think, his 3rd star baker.
Yeah, you're right.
Well done, Richard. Despite your dissolute youth, you've made a come a cropper? Is that it? I don't remember. Oh, the Dalwhinnie's kicking in.
Oh, right here, too. I think we're very much on the same wavelength right now, but now we find out who has to go.
But I'm just watching poor Martha cry and just hug her so hard.
And it's Kate.
But it's Kate, and everyone's shocked, including Martha and Kate. She doesn't even get off her chair. God bless her. She's just shocked.
Because, we've gotten to know these particular contestants longer than the others, just by virtue of the fact that they've been on the show longer. And it's like, so it hurts a little bit more to see them go. I'd love to see Kate do more stuff.
I would too. And her little end talk there where she says that she's overwhelmingly gratified to have been on the show, but she's not going to cook for the next couple of days.
Fair enough.
Her ongoing positivity and sense of humor. I just love it. And I hope everyone's following her on Twitter because she's doing some really interesting baking. She has a great blog, and we'll post that on Facebook and Twitter. Lots of gluten-free and really healthy baking lately.
Oh, great.
And such good recipes. Really interesting stuff.
And, that's part of the beauty of the internet is that these nice people can continue to be present in our lives if we want that.
Yes, and not just present, but I think trying to educate people or just share things that they're doing and things that they really love that enhance other people's lives. I think it's quite marvelous.
Yeah.
And there's Martha just so relieved, and Richard like, yeah, I made it.
And good for them.
Indeed. So next week, I believe we're heading into who will go to the quarterfinals. We're down to 5 people.
Yeah. And it's going to be advanced dough.
Ooh, that's hardcore.
Yeah, it sounds like a microeconomics course. which I'm happy to say I've never taken.
Me neither. Thank God we were English majors.
Shakespeare all the way.
Shakespeare.
The marketable degree.
Which is kind of hysterical because, I was in accounting for 10 years, but...
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
But only, as a mild clerk, not as an accountant.
Well, we both had not very profitable educational backgrounds, but we found our way to make a way through our lives.
Now, Joel, I'm going to argue with this because I hear a lot of people, really get down on the English major. And in fact, I got into a little tiff with somebody on Twitter this week about that.
Really? Oh, do tell.
Oh, a famous writer who shall go unnamed.
Oh, that's no fun.
No, it's not important. But a fan asked her about she was going to college and she wanted to write and she really loved English and she wanted to make an English, should I take English as a major? She wrote back to this fine person who was asking for advice, and granted, it's Twitter and you can't really give good advice in 140 characters. Mm-hmm. But it was basically the upshot. It was English major equals do you want fries with that?
Oh.
And I thought,
What did you say?
I just said, my quick Twitter response, and there were many, many responses from other English majors who were all doing really interesting things, is that, my English degree means I've spent 25 years trying to interpret science for people when scientists can't write 2 sentences about their own research that are comprehensible. Mm-hmm. That's what I do, or did, or, I still do. In the end, what kind of came clear just from that thread, and whether she took this away or not, I can't say, was that an English major is actually one of the more profitable majors because it's so versatile.
Yeah.
And there are so many fields, engineering, science, where people who major in those fields do not have particularly good communication skills. Mm-hmm. But of course, what they're discovering is they need those communication skills so that an English major, through its versatility, has a lot more options than, say, somebody who studied computer science.
And fair enough. And, my earlier bad-mouthing of it is really out of place because what I've often said is that an English major specifically qualifies you for not many things, but generally qualifies you for everything because It does make you a better communicator.
Well, and I think a better thinker, because what an English major requires is that you learn how to think critically about information that you're given. Mm. Those are skills that a lot of people don't have.
Yeah.
Go get your English major. If that's what you're interested in, I don't know about you, but my feeling is when you get up to higher education, in the end, just study what you like.
Yeah, because you're going to apply it in good ways based on your personality. No matter what degree you get, I think. It comes down to you. So just do what you like, and then you're going to be okay if you're an okay kind of person.
Yeah, you may struggle. You may not do the thing that your major is in, and certainly I don't. In many ways, I don't. But in some ways, I do. Just go ahead and, follow the thing that you really love. Don't go into huge debt for it, though.
That's a very important caveat.
If you really love archaeology, don't take $120,000 in college debt. Don't be an idiot. Come on. You're never going to make that back.
I like how beautifully staunch you are.
Well, you know what, Joel? We're not young. And in the end, you just have to do what you're going to do because it's going to work out.
I agree 100%.
It's like a Kuhn-Amann. In the end, it's all going to work out.
Oh boy, you just tied it into a beautiful bow.
You might be judged. You're going to be judged for it. But keep working away. You're going to get it right.
Absolutely. Hey, judgment is part of life. It helps us reflect and analyze and know ourselves better.
That's so true. God, that was beautiful, dude.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, and thank you, Dalwhinnie.
There's some truth in whiskey. Isn't that a saying? Truth in whiskey.
I'm going to say it. Best pod yet.
I don't know if it is, but it feels good.
It does. Tomorrow I might think differently, but right now I'm loving it.
Well, I hope everyone else loved it too, because we are now at the end of wonderful episode 7.
Yes, so join us next time for episode 8, Advanced Dough.
We are creeping toward the finale. I'm amazed that we've almost gotten through an entire season, Joel.
Yeah. It's been months that we've been doing this, and it sure doesn't feel it.
It doesn't, but that's because we're bi-weekly. And thank God. How do people do this weekly? How do people do this daily?
I don't know. Well, Daily is really a feat, but one of my favorite podcasts is The Greatest Generation, a Star Trek The Next Generation podcast, since we mentioned that earlier. They do it twice a week, and they haven't missed an episode.
Someone doesn't have a job. That's what I'm hearing.
Here's the thing, though. They do, but they're freelancers, so I think they have very flexible schedules. That helps.
Well, speaking as a freelancer, I don't know what the hell, because I don't know how they're doing. But Greatest Generation, you are the bomb.
They really are. I love those guys.
And in fact, I do too. Oh, can I just say, yesterday, in fact, we discovered that Felicia Day is a fan of this show.
What? Well, by this show, you don't mean our show yet.
No, I mean the Great British Baking Show. And
Okay.
I just want to point out that once again, you have proved that you are the goddess of geeks.
Hear, hear. She is a class act.
She is, along with Snoop Dogg, who thinks that Mary Berry is the bomb.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I love him even more now. That's great.
I do too. Have you seen his show with Martha Stewart?
No, I haven't, but I think I maybe need to.
I saw the one episode that he did on her show. It was hysterical, but they did a little series, and I have to find that because
That's great.
the two of them together are genius. So, we are not alone in our Great British Baking Show love.
And that makes me happy.
Me too. On that happy note, we are going to bid you good evening, all. Please check us out on Twitter, Gin and Cake Pod, or on Facebook. We're there too. Lots of posts in addition to the podcast, so check us out.
Please do. And have a good night, Sharon.
You too, Joel. Thanks everybody for listening.
Bye-bye.